So you go to sell your land. You own it free and clear. You call your favorite agent. They do what's called an O&E, property search, to make sure there's no liens on the title. Comes out, you don't even own it anymore. I spoke with Megan Carlson with Land Title today. She gave us the ins and outs of what it is, how it happens, and what you can do about it. I make sure I put all the links and everything we talk about in the description below. Let's get right into it. Hey there, we are back again with Megan Carlson with Land Title. This is a very interesting subject and something that is coming up more and more often. It's called title fraud. If you're not familiar with title fraud, that's basically when someone is using your land and they're trying to sell your land. But I'm going to let Megan talk about this because she is an expert in it. Megan, thanks again for coming back.
Oh, John, thanks so much for having us. And I appreciate that you were interested in this topic. So title fraud, seller fraud, real estate fraud, there's a lot of different fraud that's out there, but today we're going to focus on the title fraud, seller or real estate fraud. And the reason that we wanted to talk about this, so this has been prevalent in the state of Colorado for about the last 6 to 8 months. So we've been talking about it, but making sure that people understand what it really is, with some red flags, and how to just become more aware and how to be able to, as a consumer or as an agent, you're reaching out to your sphere and to your consumers, how to protect yourself with some added additional security measures. I just don't think it's as talked about of a topic. We talk about wire fraud quite often and, scare everybody when it comes to wire fraud because it's a real thing, but seller fraud really is a prevalent and out here. And again, because it's come to the state of Colorado, I think it's important to talk about it. So what is seller fraud or title fraud? So that's where a fraudster or fraudsters impersonate the owner of a property and try to sell that property. So what are the fraudsters doing, or what are some red flags of where your feelers pop up, of where you can kind of make sure that you're aware of what's happening? So the fraudsters are looking for a cash buyer. So that's to start, right? Because cash buyer means no lender is involved. And typically if you're doing what's called a for sale by owner, so the fraudster is selling the property on their own and not using an agent, you're going through a cash buyer, whether they have an agent representation or not. The least amount of people within the transaction, the better, because then we're not doing any research, there's no scrubbing. So they're looking for a cash buyer. And when we talk about no scrubbing, they're also looking for property that is free and clear. And what free and clear means is there's no additional outstanding liens on the property. So the mortgage has been paid off. There's no outstanding deeds of trust. There's no HOA liens. There's no IRS liens. There's no judgment. So the property is free and clear and easy to then give over that clean marketable title to the buyers.
Yeah, because of being free and clear, there's no, like you said, no checks and balances are really necessary. Well, they're necessary, don't get me wrong, but they're not, you don't have to do it in this situation. So I can see how that's easy to take over and take a piece of land like that.
Absolutely. And you're not going through, I think everybody should always go through a title company. So you have a title policy as a new buyer and allowing the title company to put in their additional checks and balances to make sure, again, that fraud is not happening on a property. But if you have representation, again, for sale by owner, and you're going through a cash buyer, you don't have to come through a title company, and that's what they're looking for. So the fraudsters are continuing to evolve. So we talked about they're looking for a cash buyer. They're looking for properties that are free and clear. So the type of properties, originally it started where it was just vacant land. So they were looking for that vacant land free and clear. Fraudsters are continuing to evolve. So they evolved where they were then looking at properties that were free and clear that had improvements on the property. And so an improvement would be, an example, a home that's on the property. The last way that they've been evolving is now that they're focusing on broker-to-broker referrals, so it seems more legit. So they would be calling John and say, hey, John, I know that you are an expert in these 4 areas, but I've got a home, let's say, in Salida, or I've got some vacant land in Salida, and I'm looking for an expert who is up in the Salida area, who's aware of the market and kind of how to be able to sell that property specifically in the Salida area. Can you give me a referral? So John, out of the kindness of his heart, says, absolutely, I want to help out this customer. I've got a great connection up in the Salida area. Here is the information. You're welcome to give that agent a call. So then the fraudster then calls that agent, and then you move forward and with fraudulent activity.
So the agent, so the quote unquote would-be seller fraudster is using me as an agent and saying, hey, I had got the referral from you from a great agent down in Denver. I have this land to sell, and we all know it's easier with land. A lot of people don't even meet at the land. So that is also what makes it important. One of the other things that we could talk about at a different time, why it's so important to make sure that you're meeting the client in person and verifying who they are.
Those are the last couple red flags that I wanted to put into place and talk about as well. So these fraudsters are not going to meet you in person. Obviously, they're fraudsters, right? So they are only communicating between text and email. You may get them on the phone here and there, but you're never going to see them on a FaceTime. You're never going to see them in person. If you do go through a closing process or situation, they're not going to be in closing either, because of course they don't want to see you face to face because they're impersonating someone. So they're typically going to be out of the state or out of the country and want what's called a mail out closing, where all the documents are mailed to them so they can use a fraudulent notary. So to wrap up that part, before we move over into a couple different ways that you can be proactive and create awareness for yourself and for anybody else involved. Number one, like we said, property is free and clear. Number two, the fraudster is looking for a cash buyer. You're not able to get a hold of or see that seller in person. And it's only through text or email. And they want to mail out closing. They're not going to be available to you. So there are situations where all of those boxes are checked and they are legitimate, real people just trying to go forward and sell their property. But as you have those check boxes and your feelers start to go up, trust your feelers.
Trust your gut.
Yeah.
What can sell? Well, I think you're probably already going to talk about it. Is that what sellers can do?
Absolutely. And so anybody who owns property can take a look at these next couple opportunities of what I'm going to talk about. So the first idea actually came from Scott Peterson with DMAR. So he is just an incredible, intelligent human on that end. So he talked about what's called Google Alerts. So Google Alerts are free. And if you don't know how to create a Google Alert, literally you can just Google, how do I create a Google Alert?
I'm sure there's a YouTube video about it.
Yes, exactly. So you can create Google Alerts for anything. You can create it for the Ciardella Team. You can create it for land title. You can create it for any, sports, NCAA, but you can also create it on a property basis. So the Google Alert, what'll happen is on a daily basis, Google will look through the web and see if whatever you've created the alert for has popped up on the web. And the next day it's going to send you a free email that lets you know that this has popped up, that your topic has popped up. And so why this is important is because a lot of times the fraudsters, when they're doing a for sale by owner, they're still posting it on Zillow. They're still posting it on the MLS. So this will then trigger an email over to you for your property. So example, if you live at 614 South Eudora Way, you would type in, you want an alert for 614 South Eudora Way, 614 S Eudora Way, and maybe you do both of those and you abbreviate way. So that way you've got a couple different alerts. So if it did pop up on Zillow or it did pop up on MLS, it's going to send you that alert that something's happening within your property.
That is fantastic.
That's a proactive approach. What's great about that too for any agents is you can put that in for any of your listings as well. Not about fraud, but just your listings. So you can see who's
searching it, or see that you can actually show your client that people are searching for it.
And also see who's marketing it outside of you. And you're also marketing it in the right professional way. So that gives you alerts, which
they're trying to market it as their listing and not putting your information on the bottom.
That is correct. Exactly.
Gotcha.
So that's the first. The second, a lot of our counties within Denver metro area have created their own fraud alerts. Some of them are using what's called Fraud Sleuth. So Adams, Arapahoe, Boulder, Denver, Douglas, Eagle, Gilpin, Kit Carson, Las Animas, Mesa, and Rio Blanco are all of the counties that have opted into their own fraudulent monitoring system. So you can go onto the county website, so you can type in, fraud alert Denver County and see where Fraud Sleuth pops up, and you can sign up there for free. The challenge with this is it is a reactive approach. So as it's monitoring, it's only going to monitor for anything that has already been recorded against your title. But at least it's giving you an alert that something has happened, so you can handle it immediately. So again, that's also free. The third one is what's called Title Lock. And I get a question on this quite often. Is Title Lock true? Is it a scam? What is Title Lock? So Title Lock is indeed a real company. It is a paid service, and it monitors your title in the reactive reactive approach as well, like credit monitoring does.
Okay.
So if something were to pop up on against your property with title, it's going to give you an alert. I think it would be great. I haven't done further research, but you can call Title Lock and just see, does this service provide any type of insurance or coverage for financial loss as a result of the crime? So just understanding what you're paying for, or is it only just the monitoring service?
Right.
The second question is, what level of assistance would that company provide in the event that this crime occurs? So it is a real system. You're welcome to Google it and find it. You can find it, I think it's titlelock.com, and understand what those options are, but understanding that it's a paid service, it's a reactive approach, but again, an additional awareness. And then what else do they provide? The last item is an endorsement to your title policy. So it depends on the title company and what endorsement they offer, but overall it protects against the loss caused by post-policy fraud or impersonation. So it is something that you can call your title company and you can have added to your policy after your policy has gone through. There's two caveats, I believe, that also comes from that. So number one, if you own a home in an LLC, unfortunately that endorsement isn't allowed due to the LLC. And then it's also not available for vacant land. So it would be only land with improvements on it. So there's some caveats that come along with those endorsements. And same thing, making sure that as you check with your title company, see what their endorsements are available for you, and have that conversation if it needs to be added to your policy.
Megan, this was fantastic. I really love talking about this stuff. Will you come back next time? And I know we were talking this morning about some other subjects that we want to talk about. Thank you so much again, and we'll see you next time.
Looking forward to it, John. Thanks so much.
And there you have it. If you like this type of information, make sure to like, subscribe, share, hit the bell, all that stuff, and check out this video right here because we have some more title information for you. We'll see you next time.